So my name is Bridget Snell, and I'm head of organizational effectiveness at Oxfam America, and I'm also an adjunct professor at the Heller School at Brandeis University. And I was here today to talk about theories of change because I think it's an incredibly powerful tool in our kit as an international development practitioners on two levels. One is, I think, as social activists, I think the theory of change is quite powerful in allowing us to connect with others. It's a way of framing a conversation around change that allows us to understand our contribution and what we'd like to make as a contribution and other actors we need to work with and wish to work with because we can't make that change alone. And I think it's also important from a perspective of evaluation and accountability that in everything we do is an implicit hypothesis of how we're going to affect change, and that needs to be tested and studied. Theories of change really are meeting the needs of two sides of development, the social activist and the evaluator. For the social activist, in order to design well, you have to say, this is the change I want. You need to be clear about the change you want, and then you need to be clear about what you consider to be the essential things to get to that change. For the evaluator, you're really saying you want to study what people intended to change. So they're asking two different questions, but we're really looking at intentionality. For the social activist, being purposeful about that, and for the evaluator, being clear about studying the changes that they expected so that you can contribute to their learning about how to improve what they're doing. I think that there's some 5 key qualities of good theory of change. The first one I can't emphasize enough, which is that at the end of the day, a theory of change is a hypothesis. It is a guess. And so since it's a theory, we need to be looking at theories outside of ourselves because there may already be a wealth of information around how to affect change. In addition to that, I think a theory of change has to be really clear about the outcomes that are supposed to be happening along the way to achieve the long-term outcome. And outcome level changes are really not talking about the activities. You did a training, it's what that training contributed to. There's a change in terms of awareness of the rights around this issue. There's awareness in terms of the effect on my personal life. I have greater confidence in terms of taking action because of this training, that outcome level. You need to be making clear the relationships between different outcomes. We know that one single change isn't going to create sustainable change, so you're looking at the relationships, and you make explicit the relationships. What comes first? Does something have to happen for something else to happen? You need to be making your assumptions explicit. Every theory of change is full of assumptions about how we think change is going to happen, and you need to make those explicit so you can test them. What I found to be most confusing for people in the field and in different environments where they're trying to make use of theory of change is that I believe there are a range of theories of change that are influencing their work. And what's important is for them to understand that they are informed by those theories of change, but they need to adapt them and localize them to their context. So we're all influenced by archetypal, or I should say societal theories of change. They come from our schools, they come from our backgrounds, our churches, our temples, our synagogues. I mean, we have societal theories of change about how change happens. We have theories of change that I call archetypal, which are really based on understanding of how change happens in a sector or a belief about how change happens in a sector, such as gender empowerment is a well-studied area in terms of how change happens, and there's some archetypal theories of change out there that we can learn from. And then you have a program-level theory of change, and that's when you're in Ghana or you're in El Salvador, some specific situation and context, and then you are informed by those other levels of theories, but you want to say, what are the choices I'm making in this context to move on this issue? And so program theories of change link actors in a context, and they link you to other theories. And then finally, you have an intervention theory, which I think is mostly related to the log frame, which is more linear and tells you how you're going to deliver a specific product and project in that change process. One of the things we're learning is that you don't start with the law, you start with people, and you start with building people's awareness and knowledge. You start with building movements, and that's more likely to create a sustainable change than actually changing different parts of the system simply because you have the skills to do it.